I spent years wanting to create things and share them, but not actually doing it, because the gap between wanting to be seen and being willing to be seen felt impossible to cross. Every time I thought about posting something, making a video, putting my face or my voice or my thoughts out where people could see them and judge them, my body would react like I was about to step off a cliff. This wasn't irrational fear in the sense that I couldn't identify where it came from. I could trace it back through years of learning that being visible meant being vulnerable to criticism, to rejection, to people deciding I wasn't good enough or smart enough or interesting enough. I'd internalized messages from childhood about not drawing too much attention to myself, not being too loud or too much, not standing out in ways that might invite negative feedback. There were specific moments that reinforced this. A presentation in school where I stumbled over my words and someone laughed. A time I shared an opinion and was told I didn't know what I was talking about. Small rejections that accumulated into a belief system where being seen equaled being exposed to pain, and staying hidden equaled staying safe. So I stayed hidden. I consumed other people's content, watched other people put themselves out there, and told myself I would do it eventually, when I felt more ready, more confident, more sure that I had something worth saying. But that readiness never came, because I was waiting for the fear to disappear before I acted, and fear doesn't work that way. What I didn't understand then is what happens in the brain when you're about to expose yourself to perceived judgment. The amygdala, the part of the brain that processes threat, doesn't distinguish between physical danger and social danger. When you're about to post something vulnerable or share your face or share your work, your nervous system responds the same way it would if you were facing an actual predator. Your heart rate increases, your palms sweat, your breathing becomes shallow, you get an overwhelming urge to back away from the situation, to close the app, to delete the draft, to stay safe in obscurity. And because these physical sensations are so intense, they feel like evidence that you're making a mistake, that the danger is real, that you should listen to the fear and retreat. But the threat isn't real. No one is actually going to harm you because you posted a video or shared an idea. The worst that can realistically happen is that some people won't like it, some might say something negative, most will ignore it completely. None of those outcomes are dangerous, they're just uncomfortable. But your brain treats discomfort and danger as the same thing when it comes to social exposure. The shift started when I realized the problem wasn't other people's opinions, it was the story I was telling myself about what those opinions would mean. I wasn't afraid of someone thinking my video was boring. I was afraid that if someone thought it was boring, that would confirm I was boring, that I had nothing valuable to offer, that I was wasting everyone's time by trying. The external judgment was just a trigger for internal judgment that was already there. I was my own harshest critic, and I was projecting that criticism onto everyone else, assuming they would see me the way I saw myself. As long as that internal narrative stayed the same, it didn't matter if I got positive feedback or negative feedback or no feedback. I'd find a way to interpret everything through the lens of not being good enough. So the work wasn't about managing other people's reactions. It was about changing the identity I was operating from. I was approaching visibility as someone who believed she wasn't supposed to be visible, who believed being seen was dangerous, who believed she needed to earn the right to take up space. That person couldn't create consistently because every act of creation felt like a violation of who she was supposed to be. I started with the smallest possible exposures, not posting a full video, just showing my face on a story that would disappear in 24 hours, not sharing a fully formed thought, just a sentence about something I was thinking about, not committing to anything public and permanent, just testing the sensation of being slightly more visible than I was used to being. each time I did this, my body reacted with that same threat response. Heart racing, hands shaking, immediate regret the second I hit post. But nothing bad happened. No one attacked me. Most people didn't even notice. A few responded positively, and I survived the discomfort without anything catastrophic occurring. The repetition mattered, because the brain learns through pattern recognition. Every time I exposed myself to the thing I was afraid of and nothing terrible happened, my nervous system gathered data that contradicted the belief that visibility equals danger. The fear didn't disappear, but it became less automatic, less overwhelming, less convincing. I also started using a version of myself that felt separate from my everyday identity. Not a fake persona, but more like a professional version, someone who showed up to create and share and wasn't carrying all the personal baggage and self-doubt that I carried in other areas of my life. When I was creating, I was stepping into that role, and that role wasn't afraid, because she had a job to do, and fear wasn't relevant to that job. This sounds like pretending, but it's more like compartmentalizing. The part of me that was afraid to be seen could exist in one area of my life without controlling the part of me that was here to create. I didn't have to resolve all my insecurities or fix my self-esteem or become a different person. I just had to act from a different position when I was in creation mode. The physical component turned out to be more important than I expected. When I noticed my body going into threat mode, I could interrupt that pattern by changing my physiology, standing up straighter, pulling my shoulders back, taking up more space physically, slowing down my breathing, extending the exhale, signaling to my nervous system that there was no actual emergency. These adjustments didn't make the fear go away, but they made it less consuming. I could feel afraid and still hit publish. I could feel my body reacting and still keep moving forward. The fear was information about my internal state, not a command I had to obey. Over time, the pattern shifted. The things that used to feel impossible became routine. Showing my face stopped being a big deal. Sharing my thoughts stopped feeling like exposing myself to judgment. The opinions that used to feel so threatening became just noise in the background that I could acknowledge or ignore depending on whether they contained useful information. The transformation wasn't about becoming fearless. It was about developing a different relationship with fear, where it could be present without controlling my decisions. I could feel it, acknowledge it, and then do the thing anyway, because the thing mattered more than the discomfort of doing it. What became clear is that the narrative I'd built about needing to stay hidden, that narrative was costing me more than visibility ever could. Staying unseen meant staying stuck. It meant all the things I wanted to create stayed trapped inside where no one could engage with them, where they couldn't connect with people who might actually find them valuable or interesting or helpful. I wasn't protecting myself by hiding, I was just limiting my own capacity to grow, to improve, to participate in the kind of work I actually wanted to be doing. The fear was trying to keep me safe, but it was keeping me small instead. And small wasn't actually safer, it was just more constrained. The version of me that was afraid to be seen had built an entire identity around that fear. She believed that staying hidden was necessary for survival, that being seen meant being destroyed, that the only way to avoid pain was to avoid visibility. But that identity was based on outdated information, on experiences from years ago that were no longer relevant, on assumptions that had never actually been tested against reality. Once I started acting from a different identity, one that treated visibility as neutral rather than dangerous, one that saw creation as a normal part of existence rather than an act of courage, the fear lost its grip. It was still there sometimes, but it wasn't running the show anymore. The people who judged me or didn't like my work or had negative things to say, They existed, but they were a small fraction of the overall response, and more importantly, their opinions didn't define my worth or my right to create. I could take in feedback that was useful and dismiss feedback that wasn't, and neither one had the power to determine whether I kept going. The shift from hiding to showing up consistently, that came from recognizing that the risk of staying hidden was greater than the risk of being seen. Every day I didn't create, I was reinforcing the identity of someone who was too afraid to participate in her own life. Every day I did create, even imperfectly, even with fear present, I was building evidence for a different identity, one that could handle visibility, one that belonged in the spaces I wanted to occupy. There's no dramatic moment where everything changed. It was just repetition, small exposures building on each other, the slow accumulation of data that contradicted the original fear narrative. Over months, the person who was terrified to post anything became someone who posted regularly without much internal resistance. The fear didn't disappear, but it stopped being the deciding factor. Staying hidden doesn't protect you from judgment. People will form opinions about you regardless of whether you're visible or not. Being absent just means you're not part of the conversation, not that you're exempt from it. And the cost of that absence is all the things you didn't create, all the connections you didn't make, all the growth you didn't experience because you were prioritizing comfort over expansion. Visibility isn't comfortable. It probably never will be completely comfortable, but it becomes manageable, and eventually it becomes normal, and then it just becomes part of what you do rather than something you have to overcome every single time.